Hi there, my name is Tiffany, and here I'm sharing about grief and death related to the loss of my father recently. And I'm thinking about our culture. I live in the US, so that has a very particular, I think, culture related to grieving, related to the loss of loved ones. It's not that people don't deal with it, but I think that we don't really have a process built into our culture here to manage grief and support others who are grieving. It's more about staying strong, keeping it together, and trying to get through. At least that's what I've witnessed. And I know in other parts of the world, there are cultures where grief is built into their culture, their communities. It's a process that they can rely on, and they know kind of what to do, and everyone collectively knows how to respond when someone is grieving. And I just don't feel like here where I live, that's as strong of a presence. And so the idea of building my own process for grieving has become critical to this experience. And I'll share a few of the things that I've relied on and what I've discovered are truly helpful to me. It's really about resources and tools, and acknowledging that it's a process that unfolds and changes and is dynamic. So I will start with the concept of time and space. That for me has been huge. Finding a place where I can relax, not think about a lot, and just be with myself has been an interesting process. I've taken time off from work and just relaxed at home, or I've been out and about, exploring ways that I feel like I can just let go and not think so much and just be sort of with myself. And sometimes I'm also with friends. So it's been critical to think through, like, what kind of time and space do I need for myself in this process. A huge resource for me has actually been an online website called recoverfromgrief.com. And that site is managed by a nurse who used to, or maybe still does, work at an ICU unit in a hospital, and then later on went through a process of getting certified as a grief counselor. So this website is really grounded and practical and reasonable. It doesn't feel like a lecture. It doesn't feel like something you'd find in a textbook. It's a space where people are very open and very real about the symptoms of grief. And there are dozens and dozens of symptoms. And so understanding what that environment looks like for you and knowing that it's dynamic and can change is important. For me, that's been huge, knowing that I can feel a lot of different ways throughout my days. Also, it's really cool to turn to grief counseling if you can find somewhere local where there's group support counseling or private counseling. I found a local grief group, which has been tremendous because it's an opportunity to go and share as much or as little as you want about your experience and hear others share about theirs. It's also a really cool way of sharing the story of the loved one you lost and honoring them and having others join you in that process. Also for me, being out in nature has been huge. So when my stress levels get really high as I've been going through this process, I know that nature is a great tool to lowering blood pressure and also just connecting with myself in a way that I can't when I'm at work or when I'm hanging out with friends. And so going on a hike has been really helpful for me. And also, kind of in that same vein, massage has been a really huge resource. It's interesting to me. Having the human touch helps lower my stress levels, gets me relaxed, of course. Also, it helps me get more grounded and more centered and more in touch with what's going on with me. And I think more than anything, being comfortable with knowing what's going on in my inner environment has been helpful. And what I've read about the grief process and mental health is that the sooner you can get into the grieving process, the better your mental health will be in the long run. So in other words, if you don't deal with your feelings, your emotions, and you just hold them in, try to stay strong, down the road that will actually be more detrimental than having to face them sooner. And also for me, prayer and meditation have been incredible tools. Knowing that I can turn to my own spiritual path and go inward and just kind of find solace, find comfort through prayer and meditation, for me has also been really helpful. So these are some of the tools and resources that I found work for me. And I've also talked to other friends who have lost loved ones, especially parents, because it's really helpful to hear what their process has been like. And it's almost like we sort of generate a bit of our own process that sort of starts to become like a little bit more of a common process. In other words, we can share tools, share resources, talk about our own kind of experience with our mental healing and emotional healing, and kind of talk through what would be useful in terms of having support in our communities and amongst each other. And I think it's really interesting, the idea of having to create a process for dealing with grief. And in our communities, if we don't have anything, we can, if we've been through an experience, obviously we can share with others what we've learned, what's helped, and then help them along the way. So in the US, if we don't have a real structure for grieving, why not just start creating it amongst ourselves? And I think that we will get to a place where we kind of can start to have a common structure maybe that we create ourselves. So that's what I wanted to share this time. I'll come back in another video and share another insight and more about my experience. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.